Hachette Audio presents Atlas Obscura, an explorer's guide to the world's hidden wonders. Written by Joshua Foer, Dylan Thuras, and Ella Morton. Read by Dylan Thuras. Introduction. When Josh and I launched Atlas Obscura in 2009, our goal was to create a catalog of all of the places, people, and things that inspired our sense of wonder. Josh had recently spent 2 months driving all over the United States, searching out tiny museums and eccentric outsider art projects. I was about to set off on a year of travel across Eastern Europe. We wanted a way of finding the curious, out-of-the-way places that often don't make it into traditional guidebooks, the kind of destinations that expand your sense of what is possible, but which we would never be able to find without a tip from someone in the know. Over the years, thousands of people from all over the world have joined us in this collaborative project by contributing entries to the Atlas. This audiobook represents just a tiny fraction of what our community has unearthed. Every one of you out there who added a place to the Atlas or made an edit or sent in a photo, you are all our co-authors. Thank you. This audiobook has been updated to include incredible new places that members of our community have shared with us since the first edition of this book was published in 2016. We've also added a map depicting our idea of the world's most amazing and longest road trip. Though Atlas Obscura may have the trappings of a travel guide, in truth, it is something else. The site and this audiobook are a kind of Wunderkammer of places, a cabinet of curiosities that's meant to inspire wanderlust as much as wanderlust. In fact, many of the places in this book are in no way tourist sites and shouldn't be treated as such. Others are so out of the way, so treacherously situated, or at least in one case, so deep beneath the surface that few readers will ever be able to visit them. But here they are, sharing this marvelously strange planet with us. This audiobook would not exist without the incomparable and indefatigable Ella Morton, or our ace project manager, Mark Herringer, who guided this audiobook from beginning to end. Though we have tried to check the accuracy of every fact in this audiobook, please don't book any plane tickets without doing your own independent research. Or do. Just be ready for an adventure. We often ask ourselves just how large a truly comprehensive compendium of the world's wonders and curiosities would ultimately be. The length of the audiobook that it would create set limits on what is possible. But even on our website, which faces no such constraints, it can never be complete. There is an Atlas Obscura yet to be created that is as comprehensive as the world itself. For wonder can be found wherever we are open to searching for it. Josh and Dylan, co-founders of Atlas Obscura. Europe. England. The Silver Swan, Newgate, Durham. This uncannily lifelike musical automaton mimics a full-size swan floating on a pond of spun glass rods. Created in the 1770s, it uses 3 clockwork mechanisms to perform a 40-second routine set to calming bell-like music. When wound, the swan moves its neck from side to side to preen its feathers before dipping its beak into the pond and snatching up a tiny fish. First displayed in British jeweler James Cox's Mechanical Museum, the swan was purchased by collector John Bowes in 1872 and is now housed in the Bowes Museum, a French chateau in the north of England. A quick note on walking, eating, moving machines. Automatons, mechanical figures that move in an eerie, lifelike manner, have existed for centuries, but their heyday was during the 18th and 19th centuries. The Turk Built in 1770, was one of the most impressive. It consisted of a mechanical man in a turban who played chess against anyone willing to take him on. The machine toured the world, battling opponents like Napoleon Bonaparte and Benjamin Franklin. During the early 19th century, the Turks' apparent intelligence and skill dazzled audiences and frustrated skeptics, who suspected a trick. In the end, eagle-eyed observers, including Edgar Allan Poe, who encountered the Turk in Virginia in 1835, discovered the secret: a hidden human. The cabinet beneath the chessboard held a squashed chess master who made every move by candlelight, pulling levers to operate the Turk's arm and keeping track of the moves on his or her own board. The Turk was nothing but an elaborate hoax. While the Turk was frustrating its opponents, genuine automatons delighted onlookers with their realistic movements. The digesting duck, the 1739 creation of Jacques de Vaucanson, flapped its wings, moved its head, ate grains, and shortly afterward defecated. The digestion process was not authentic. The duck's backside housed a reservoir of droppings that would fall in response to the amount of grains being eaten. But it was the first step toward what de Vaucanson hoped would eventually be a genuine eating machine. Pierre-Jacques Dreux and his two sons spent 6 years, starting in 1768, crafting the musician, the draftsman, and the writer. A trio of dolls now housed in Switzerland's Museum of Art and History. The female musician plays an organ, her chest rising and falling to mimic breathing, and her body moving in the manner of an impassioned pianist. The draftsman and writer are dressed in lacy shirts, gold satin breeches, and red velvet robes, and each sits at a desk. While the draftsman draws one of 4 programmed images, including portraits of Louis XV and a dog, the writer dips a goose feather in ink and can write custom text of up to 40 characters. Steam men were all the rage in the late 1800s, beginning with the 22-year-old New Jersey resident Zadok Dederick's 1868 model, a 7-foot, 9-inch tall man in a top hat who pulled a carriage. His bulky torso housed a boiler that generated enough power to propel him forward 1 footstep at a time. Canadian George Moore's 1893 version, unattached to a carriage, measured 6 feet tall and resembled a medieval knight. An exhaust pipe emerged from his nostril, making him appear to have steamy breath whenever he walked. His movement was limited by one crucial factor. Since he was attached to a horizontal stabilizing arm, he could only walk in circles. Tipu's tiger, a tidy representation of the enmity between the residents of India and their 18th century British colonizers, is an Indian-made, crank-operated toy located in the Victoria and Albert Museum. It depicts a tiger mauling a helpless British officer. Turning the handle makes the man's left hand rise weakly in an attempt to shield his face from the attack. As the hand moves up and down, air rushes through 2 pairs of bellows. The resulting sounds, beastly growls, and the cries of a man in his death throes leave no ambiguity about who wins the tussle. Now, let's return to England. The Poison Garden, Alnwick, Northumberland. To enter the Poison Garden of Alnwick, you must first fetch a guide to unlock the black iron gates, which are decorated with a white skull and crossbones, and a worrying message: these plants can kill. Inspired by the poison gardens in 16th century Padua, where the Medicis plotted the frothing ends of their royal enemies, the Duchess of Northumberland created this garden in 2005, dedicating it entirely to poisonous or narcotic flora. The Duchess, Jane Percy, is an unlikely patron. In 1995, her husband unexpectedly became the 12th Duke of Northumberland, following his brother's death, and the Alnwick Castle fell into their family's care. Roaming the elaborate gardens, the newly minted Duchess decided to transform an overgrown, neglected section into something that was at once both traditional and dangerous. The Poison Garden.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?